The Phoenix Suns still currently employ him, but reports are saying he might be released soon. 12-time All-Star met with the team to discuss his future, which could involve, like I said, being waived or being traded. Now, another report says CP3 would like to return to the Suns. Slick, I won't do this on camera, but as I measure it, Chris Paul's a top 5-point guard all time. For me, he's right there around 5. We'll have that conversation later. The urgent conversation to have now. Top point guard, one of the greatest in the game of basketball. He might be a free agent. Where should he go? What team needs him most to win a championship?
I would say the Los Angeles Clippers because of, and I know the immediate pushback is, wait a minute, we got Kawhi Leonard who's always hurt. We got Paul George who's always hurt. Now you're going to give us Chris Paul who's always hurt? Like, what are you thinking, Bucher? Well, number one, they've had depth, and they've demonstrated that they can play and be successful, relatively successful, even when those guys are out. Yeah. So there is that. And I just, again, if I'm going to go to the team that could use him most, what they desperately need is they need a playmaker and a floor general.
Fair.
Paul George has that role by default, and he can be good at it, but I don't want a steady diet of it. And most important, they have everything else. He doesn't have to be a scorer. He doesn't have, he's defensively, they can protect him in a way that few other teams can. And because of all their depth and because of Paul George, like, I'm not asking him to play a lot of heavy minutes through the year. I really just want to have him available so that when we get to the postseason and I need somebody to organize us, if we have our requisite talent, that I can get there. I don't know if we're going to get there. Maybe we're just throwing another log on the bonfire. Very possible. But as I look at the Clippers constituted, that's the one really missing element they have, which is a guy who can get everybody organized and keep the ball moving.
But Slick, here's my frustration with what you're saying is the Clippers have never won a championship. They've never even been to the NBA Finals.
What better reason than to go get another one?
He played in his prime. In his prime, he was on the Clippers. And it wasn't for lack of talent. I mean, DeAndre Jordan in his prime, Blake Griffin in his prime, Chris Paul in his prime. They had guys. They had a championship coach in Doc Rivers. Obviously, y'all know how I feel about Doc. So why would he go back to the Clippers thinking he could win a championship if that organization doesn't even have championship DNA?
Well, there is going and winning something and having the respect of being the first, bringing that championship to an organization. And then there is going someplace else. And I'm just looking around, and you could say, like, say the Boston Celtics. Well, they've won championships. But is this team a championship caliber team or not? Or do you, like, where do you put them in the equation? And I think that's a worthy place. But I'm looking at a couple things. One, you don't have to move, or you don't have to move very far. I think he already has a home in LA, right? He's familiar with that group. And you're going to get the lion's share of credit in terms of where things go. If he goes to Boston, are we going to look at him? How much credit are we going to give him?
You tell me, Joy. You tell me.
I mean, who cares about credit at this point if you're Chris Paul?
Right.
I don't care about credit. I'm going to get a ring. I've paid my dues in the NBA at this point. I've tried to get to a championship.
That sounds good, but Chris Paul.
I mean,
thinking of Chris Paul just being a ride along is hard for me to imagine.
I mean, ride along. I wouldn't care. I got a ring. I don't care if I contribute during the regular season. I'm fine with that at this point. Which is why I struggle to see the Clippers, because while all of what you said makes sense, Clippers and title don't go together.
Oh, yeah, oil and water.
It's always a first time.
There's always a first, but...
Shady and poverty.
You know, it's just like, that's a lot. That's a big ask to me. Whereas I also feel like the Celtics need what Chris Paul provides.
I do agree with that.
They have the ability through their depth to compensate for any possible time he might miss. They need a leader. They need somebody to create a culture, to put everybody in place. This is what we need to do. Stop doing this. Listen to me here. I have the respect of the room. They don't have that. So on top of what he can contribute on the court as a playmaker, I think the Celtics makes the most sense. And yes, the Celtics are closer to winning a title than the Clippers are. The Celtics were in the NBA Finals last year.
Shady, when you think about a team like the Sixers, right? They have Tyrese Maxey. They have Joel Embiid. They have all these different James Harden. You never know. He might stay there. They might retain him depending on what the new coach desires. What do you make of that organization?
How you know that was my pick? You just know your boy? I mean, think about it. First of all, it's the hottest sports city out right now. Football, they doing their thing. Basketball doing their thing. I'm going to be there. On a serious note, like, so you talk about Tyrese, Maxey. Young point guard that's up and coming, going to be a superstar. You bring in a guy like Chris Paul. They already got an MVP, so he's going to take the majority of the pressure, of the scoring, of the defense, right? They need guidance. The Sixers need a leader.
Yeah.
Right? They need a vocal leader. No, Joel, take your ass in that post. No more threes. Bang. You see what I'm saying? Like we need that in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And I think that if we have a guy like Chris Paul, even Tobias Harris, right? We get the most out of him. I think we have a leader and a floor general. It changes the game. Right? So now it's not a coach in your ear, it's your player. And a guy like Chris Paul, you're going to respect him.
Shady.
So that's the move I like.
Okay, let's be real, though.
Philadelphia, baby.
Because this sounds cute and all, but oftentimes when a great, even if they're a historical great, if they're way over the hill and they come to the organization and they start talking all that talk, I'm looking at them like, come on, bro.
You're not letting Chris Paul like that.
I understand.
That sound cool, but you're not looking at him like that.
Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Marcus Smart, at their young age, have gone as far as Chris Paul has ever gone in the NBA playoffs. If I'm not, no, they've gone further. They went to the NBA Finals.
Yep.
And then they've gone as far multiple times when you want to talk about the conference finals. So, except Chris Paul went, in 2020. So how is Chris Paul going to try to tell Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, assuming Marcus Smart moves on, or how is he going to even try to tell Joel Embiid or James Harden, like, hey, I know how to win a ring, I know how to get to the promised land? How is he going to do that?
First of all, it's not just I know how to win a ring. It's the respect level. You tell me they're not going to respect Chris Paul in the locker room?
They will, but okay, to what end?
Follow me, right? And we're going to get this together.
Where are you taking me? Where are you taking me if I follow you?
You know what it is? Y'all talent. No, seriously, I'm being serious. Y'all talent, my knowledge, right? Yeah. Even as a vet, you don't know the type of things he's doing to prepare himself mentally for a game. He could get them boys all type of game mentally. Then we take it to the court. We're going to use it. Look, he's averaging 12 points right now. He's not scoring a lot, but it's his presence and his knowledge. When he come in that locker room, and the way they practice might be different, the way they approach the game might be different. We get on that court, Joel, go out there, you score the buckets.
See, here's...
Hold on. Jason, tell him, go score the buckets. But I'm going to direct y'all the way to do it. You need that. Because we're going to tell Joel Embiid, stop shooting threes. We're saying it.
Right. But
Chris Paul said it's a different line.
There's a place in the middle there because, to Acho's point, like, when I've gone farther than you have as a vet, and we're trying to win a championship, and you're going to tell me how we're going to win a championship, I'm like, where's your ring? Like,
what did that get you, though?
What do you know?
You got farther, you still don't have a ring.
No. Understood. Now, but the part what they will respect is the way Chris Paul comes to work every day.
Yes. Right.
He will hold guys accountable. And that's a big part with Embiid. Like, you got to be smart. Game in, game out, you got to build good habits. So I get that. The distinction, and again, where I'm going to come back with the Clippers, is that they haven't been on the cusp of that, where Chris Paul with Paul George and in the same way that they brought Russ Westbrook in, and Kawhi and Paul George are like, we will make room for that voice in here, and we will make room for you to have the presence that you'd like, that Chris Paul needs in order to be there. And I just don't know that with the Celtics.
Well, I want Joy's input because I'm just on the other side. I hear you all side. I respect you all side. I understand you all side. I'm just on the other side of, like, I don't know that if I'm Joel Embiid and I'm coming off an MVP season, that anybody can tell me what to do. Like,
well,
I'm Joel Embiid.
You're probably not going to win much.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to win as much as Chris Paul in my mind.
No, but you're not, because Chris Paul's been further than you. They've never been past the semis.
And neither has, like, I don't know how Chris Paul can say anything.
It's not about further than me. It's not about that. Like, you can have somebody who hasn't achieved as much as you, if you're talking about individual, because he has MVP and Chris Paul doesn't. but you haven't won yet.
And neither is Chris, though.
Okay, but together maybe we can.
That's
so
what it
if
is.
you're going to sit there and keep saying, I got the formula, you don't.
Right.
There are things that I know how to do because I am actually an OG in this league that you aren't doing, that you are not capable of doing because you haven't had somebody put you on game yet. Then maybe Chris Paul's that person, maybe it's not. Maybe he's not, but where's the arrogance coming from?
Right.
Where's the arrogance coming from for the Celtics? Oh, we've been there. Do we give you been there rings to somebody? Right. You been there banners? That don't mean nothing. Chris Paul's trying to win a championship, and he has the resume and the work ethic of an all-time great.
Yeah.
No matter if they're veterans or not, they haven't won anything. If you're talking about putting him on a team that's trying to get back to win a championship or something like that, to me, that's different. But there's a lot that goes into winning, and there's a balance there. And those teams have not won.
There's also the benefit of him being the point guard, which is, look, Joel, I can get you this, right? That's very powerful in the room. If we play this way, if you do this, we can get this and you will get this. So the fact that he's running the show gives him the opportunity to show Embiid how he can make his job easier. And if you do that, then that guy is going to fall.
I'm just sitting here thinking about it. Y'all kind of disrespecting some of these greats. Let me ask you a question.
Like who?
How you feel about Rondo? He's not nowhere near Chris Paul. He's solid, but
I think it was a phenomenal score.
So when he was in, now in the bubble, they talked about how Rondo was such a big part because it was times with AD, and we see AD. He want to shoot threes. He want to get hot. No, AD. You're not getting the ball until you get in the post. Even I've seen times he was checking LeBron James. This is LeBron James, the king. Nah, you got to play better defense. You got to get him. You need certain players, bro, to play a role. It's not about like how many points or if you win a ring or not.
Let me ask though, Shady, because Rondo was a key component of the 2008.
He was
He was a key component of the 2008 Boston Celtics championship team. Paul Pierce.
He was the fourth. Okay.
But he was a key component of that.
He was the fourth role on that, though. He was younger. Okay.
Yes, sir. My point being, if Rondo's telling me, like, hey, this is what it takes to win a chip, all day.
You think?
All day.
Oh, wait. Let me get this straight. So you think the team will listen to more what Rondo's saying than Chris Paul?
If it pertains to championships, I'm simply saying
no.
Rondo has been there. He's won one before.
First of all, when they went in the bubble, Rondo was older. He wasn't the same. He wasn't even playing as much. Right?
Agreed.
Okay, so when he got there, it's like, well, I mean, you was a good player, right? And you were in rings with, but you won with Kevin Garnett. If you was talking about how young dudes think, they'll start saying, oh, you won with Kevin Garnett, you won with Paul Pierce, Ray Allen. They'll play that game. But no, it was a respect thing. Rondo earns respect because of his resume and his knowledge. When you're a smart player like that, all the young guys look up to that. And when he got in that court, he was a floor general. It's the same thing as Chris Paul.
The question is, can Chris Paul still get it done at the level to make that impression? Because I still got, knowledge is one thing.
Okay.
I still have to be able to perform on the court, and I still have to be able to get busy. And if I can't, it doesn't matter how much I've done, it doesn't matter how much I know, the young guys are going to go, oh, gee, like you were.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.